Can we start, ma'am?
Sure.
Okay. Honorable resource person for today's session, Dr. Aisha Mehboob Sharif, Chairperson, Department of Business Administration, University of Mysore. Very respected resource person for day 3, Dr. Ram Kumar Yadav, former Director, Students Welfare, CCS, Haryana Agricultural University, Hisar. Respected principals, Dr. Vikramjeet Singh, faculty and research scholars from other colleges and universities who have joined us today, and dearmost students. I, Dr. Shami Nagpal, welcome you all on behalf of Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Dayanand to a 3 days online workshop on human values and professional ethics from March 16 to March 18. We have with us today Dr. Aisha M. Sharif, who has mammoth experience in teaching, industry, tenancy, and research, and is a professor of organizational behavior and human resource management. She will speak on clarifying organizational values and ethics for high impact performance. Yesterday, we had Professor Manjula Chaudhary, Dean, Academic Affairs, Kurukshetra University, who opened the workshop with a keynote address on human values in industrial age 4. She threw light on how technology influences social behavior, which further affects our values, and how artificial intelligence should be ethical. Ma'am also spoke on what enabling technology can do and how in these difficult times, technology has made our lives easier and COVID has added certain values that have made our lives much, much easier. So I welcome you all to this 3 days workshop to interact with these speakers who are all specialists in their own respective fields. Before our eminent speaker takes over, my request to you all to put off your videos and mute your audios. I now invite Dr. Vivek Srivastav to welcome our guests formally. Dr. Vivek Srivastav.
Thank you, Dr. Shammi. Good afternoon, everybody. I, Dr. Vivek Srivastav, Coordinator IQAC, once again welcome you all on the second consecutive day of this 3 days national workshop on human values and professional ethics, being organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Dayanand College, Hisar from 16th March to 18th March 2021. Today is the second consecutive day of this workshop, and I welcome resource person of the day, Professor Aisha Mehboob Sharif, Chairperson, Administration, University of Mysore. Professor Aisha will deliver her lecture on the topic clarifying organizational values and ethics for high impact performance. I also welcome Dr. R.K. Yadav, former Director, Students Welfare, CCS HU Hisar. Dr. Yadav is our resource person for final day, and he will be delivering a lecture on ethics in teaching. I also welcome all the delegates and participants of this national workshop from different states. Total 179 delegates for this workshop. We all are well aware is to promote quality culture through enhancing and sustaining initiatives. The very objective of IQAC is to develop a mechanism to promote consistent and catalytic action plans to improve the academic and administrative performance of the institution. Keeping this vision and objective in mind, internal quality assurance cell of our college is organizing this 3 days national workshop on human values and professional ethics. Dear participants, values are guiding principles of one's life. They are essential for success, happiness, and path. Our personal values also influence ethical choices and work values in an organization or institution. Personal values of various working members of an organization affects the organizational values, which in turn impact all aspects of strategy, growth, development, success achievement, stakeholder satisfaction, and whatnot in an organization. So the alignment between personal ethics, values, and organizational values is very important and is the ultimate key to success of an organization or an institution. Dear participants, we are fortunate enough because today we have Professor Aisha Mehboob Sharif with us to enlighten us on this topic. Dr. Aisha Mehboob Sharif is the chairperson, Department of Business Administration, University of Mysore. She is professor of organizational behavior and human resource management with teaching, industry, consultancy, and research experience that spans over 33 years. Dr. Aisha Sharif served as Vice Chancellor, Syndicate member, Academic Council member, Finance Committee member, Dean Faculty of Commerce, and as the Director of Center for Proficiency Development and Placement Service. She is a cohort member of Central University of Kashmir and also member of Academic Council of Pondicherry Central University. She is on the core committee of All India Council for Technical Education for curriculum design of management education in India and is an active member of NEC also. Dr. Sharif was selected to attend leadership training at Harvard University by Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. She is the recipient of Kamal Nayan Bajaj Memorial Award, APJ Abdul Kalam Teacher Extraordinaire Award, and Woman of the Year 2017 Award. She has taught the student of Marshall University in India. She was a consultant for Board of Technical Education, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As far her research accomplishments are concerned, Dr. Sharif has produced 18 PhD scholars and currently 8 scholars are pursuing doctoral program under her guidance. She has adjudicated 3 DLITs and has published 62 papers in Professionalism. She was on the panel of Confederation of Indian Industry, Mysore chapter, editorial board of Mentor magazine, radio counselor for IGNOU Gyanwani program, a corporate trainer, and has delivered special lectures in several institutes of repute and chaired many international conferences. So, dear participants, we feel proud to have such an excellent academician and great administrator with us today. I welcome once again Professor Aisha Mehboob Sharif and invite her to start the deliberation. Dr. Aisha, please. Madam, please
Yeah,
unmute.
yes. I hope I am audible now. Yeah.
Yes, you are audible, madam. Please.
At the very outset, I wish to thank Professor Vikramjit Singh, the principal of Dayanand College, and Professor Vivek Srivatsa, the IQAC coordinator, for giving me this opportunity to meet you all. And of course, my thanks to Professor Shami who has been so kind in, so kind in, trying to get all my details and then, coordinating so effectively. Thank you, Dr. Shami. Well, going on to the subject, clarifying organizational values and ethics for high impact performance. I'd like to begin with why values are important. Now, our values are important because they help us to grow and develop. They help us to create the future that we want to experience. Now, when we use our values to take decisions, we make a deliberate action, a choice to focus on what is important to us. And when these values are shared, they build internal cohesion in a group. Now, some of these common core values, such as respect, integrity, improvement, teamwork, all of this are important to us because these values are the qualities which are worth striving for and which are regarded as virtuous and righteous. And these values are organizing principles that will provide guidance and security. In fact, the core values help to become better human beings. They are, in fact, the deepest and the most powerful motivators of personal action. And actions, be it in the form of objects, ideas, ideals, issues, or action, patterns and various features that we adopt are based on values. So these core values are the fundamental beliefs of a person, or it could be that of an organization. Now, these guiding principles dictate behavior, and they can help people understand the difference between right and wrong. Now, the core values also helps the companies to determine whether they are on the right path, whether they are fulfilling their goals by creating an unwavering guide. Now, why are company values important? Now, from a business perspective, having a core set of company values makes it easier for a company to make decisions, quickly communicate the principles to clients, customers, various stakeholders, and also hire employees with the right attitude. Now, when I say core values, I'm talking about integrity, which is knowing and doing what is right. Respect is treating others the way you want to be treated. Embracing opportunities to contribute is responsibility. You go on like this, and sportsmanship is all about being the best to all, bringing the best to all forms of competition. And servant leadership, primarily the objective is to serve the common good. So these are some of the important core values. Now, these organizational values again are categorized into different types, of which I'd like to make a mention of 4 of them. One, I already told you about these core values. Now, they are deeply ingrained principles that guide all the company's actions and are a part of the organization's culture. Then we have aspirational values. Now, these are values that organizations may be lacking, but are needed. And we have something called as permission to play values. Now, these are the values that reflect minimum behavior, or for that matter, social standards for employees. They tend not to vary much across the companies, particularly those working within the same region or industry, which means that by definition, they never really help distinguish a company from its competitors. Now, these permission to pay values could include, which is universal for all companies that who they adopt. It could include regarding the feelings, rights, traditions, and ideas of others. It could include, treating all people with the same expectations, not making exceptions, or acknowledging others' feelings, providing empathetic support, and doing small things that signal caring and kindness, being accountable. So these are permission to play values. And of course, the accidental values are values that develop without being cultivated by management and reflect the common interests and personalities of employees. Now, talking about workplace ethics, it is about how your company defines its values and how it leads with morals. So workplace ethics are not always top of the mind of a profit-centric environment. However, the moral compass leaders establish for a company and how they abide by those values means a lot more than one might expect. Ethical dilemmas arise when you have to choose between two good choices. And before a company can pare down an ethical dilemma to two options, it must take an important decision. The first thing a business needs to do is to establish what its values are in relation to the society. In other words, how a company defines good or moral principles in society will color its ethical code. And looking at workplace ethics and leadership, leaders don't just establish ethical standards in a business, they need to also demonstrate them. So the ethical standards of a company are top down, also bottom up, and the employer sets the example. Now, if the employer does not act ethically, this trickles down to the bottom of the organization. Of course, how you handle this varies from individual to individual. There are different ethical personality types. Not everyone's concept of ethics is the same. Some people adhere rigidly to the rules set out by the management, which others have their own internal moral compass that guides them. So employees may go along with something they think is unethical because they may fear the consequences of raising the issue. In fact, people can be, people handle workplace ethics differently. Now, for example, a conformist is one who would follow rules rather than question the authority, and they tend to go by the rule of the book. So one might think that this ethical type could be counted on always to do right things. But the conformist might look the other way if leaders are acting unethically. They may follow suit. The navigator is one who is confronted with a situation in which people are behaving unethically. So navigators rely on their own innate sense of ethics to guide their actions. Even if these decisions aren't easy, they go by their intuition. Now, this ethical type has generally sound moral and compass, and they encompass, flexibility in making their choices, sometimes even if they are unpopular ones. And then we have the negotiators who try to make up the rules as they go along. Now, say they face a sketchy situation. In such times, for example, a co-worker drinking on their lunch hour. Now, the negotiator here might take a wait and see attitude to see if the incident affects his job in any way, to take any action further. And then you have the wiggler, and the wigglers are those people who don't give a lot of thought to what is right. Instead, taking the route that's most advantageous for them is their norm. For example, the wrigglers may lie to appease a supervisor, but will refuse to lie the second time maybe, if they sense that others are watching him and being suspectful of him. So how individuals handle these situations also goes with their personality, ethical personality type. Then going to shared value. Now, shared value is a business strategy that is designed to solve social issues profitably. It's all about doing business differently in a way the rest of the market is not. Now, shared value policies and principles can be adopted by government organizations, can be adopted by not-for-profit organizations too. Now, talking about work ethics among employees, you must have yesterday heard enough. Work ethics is a set of moral principles or values that an employee abides by and uses it in their job performance. It covers an employer's behavior, his attitude towards the job, career, and the workplace. So what is the prerequisite of work ethics? Primary elements of a strong work ethic are professionalism, integrity, respect for the work, for the fellow teammates, timeliness, and discipline. Now, these work ethics molds a person into a more responsible, more determined individual. It, in fact, impacts all activities of their day-to-day lives. So work ethics in the workplace is even more significant as it directly impacts the job's quality or output. Now, when a person has respect for the work and the workplace, they naturally become more productive. They use the company resources, value time, show better performance levels, and drive the company towards success. So how do you develop strong work ethics among employees? The team head or managers should clearly explain the goals and objectives before they start new tasks. Irrespective of talent and work experience, employees need direction. So every organization has its own corporate ethical culture, a definite culture, and managers need to align them with the career goals and objectives. And it is important that they engage in proper mentoring. Companies need to offer good mentoring and training programs to groom their employees. Now, as managers, they need to use a combination of methods and approaches to mentoring them. And during the mentoring process, they should ensure effective two-way communication by conducting one-on-one meeting or timely team meetings. It is also important that they practice what they preach. They need to set a good example. And that is because we are more likely to follow or do something relevant to us, although we may have a good motive behind it. Now, when you motivate your teams or lead them, you should always go back and forth and see if you have set a good example. Self-reflection is so very important there. And creating the right work environment, a congenial environment where people are willing to contribute is very important. You ensure that the employees feel safe. They don't have to worry about, small things like a power cut issue or a confined desk. You have to create an environment which is rid of hurdles, minor issues, because any of repetitions in this can impact their work ethic. And it's also reflective of the fact that you are less responsible. This attitude gets shown up. Eventually, what happens is the employees become less accountable for the work they do. So aesthetics of the physical work environment would differ, of course, from organization to organization, depending upon the size and nature of the organization. But what is true is you can always make it safe and friendly for the employees. And professionalism is something that you must always stimulate in people. A professional person exhibits quality craft and service. Professionalism starts with trust, conduct, loyalty, discipline, and there must be a hunger for excellence. So employees with this work ethic take wholehearted interest. They strive to bring excellence in whichever position they are in. So how do you develop that professionalism? You keep your word and trust. Be respectful, honest, and transparent. Act with integrity. Demonstrate that learning attitude, and show that you work from an I'm okay, you're okay life position, and regard your peers for their ideas and suggestions. Discipline again is a very important aspect. Now this begins with punctuality. Managers can put particular emphasis on maintaining punctuality in the organization, because punctual employees are less likely to take leaves. Also, these employees, if they tend to be on that lane, they are considered to be a burden for the organization. So discipline helps team members work efficiently towards the desired goals and objectives of the organization. And coming to the next aspect, you must understand the employees' needs. You can create a highly motivated workplace only when you are able to acknowledge the needs of the employees. Employees also show a high level of engagement, volunteerism, and commitment when their needs are being met. They also feel extra motivated and become more inclined towards the goals or the vision of the organization. And therefore, to stimulate performance and job satisfaction, managers, leaders must understand the employee needs. There must always be a culture of constant feedback, because feedback is an essential part of workplace communication cycle. And to nurture an environment of good work ethics, there must be constant feedback. When I say that, honest and constructive feedback is essential. This can build a culture of continuous improvement. It can be in the form of facilitating open discussions, transparency in work culture, suggestions, rigorous exchange of ideas and information, updation on the norms of the organization with the latest and best trends. So this keeps the organization on a track where improvement becomes the order of the day. It is also important to fuel the spirits of the performers. Rewarding and recognizing is a good practice to ensure that the momentum of appreciation is maintained. Now, it acts as a motivator in keeping the good work going. So now, you have to identify who are the individuals who deserve recognition and ensure that this responsibility to fuel the spirits is continued. That is when the employees start feeling that they are valued and appreciated. And finally, you cannot empower your employees if you are not able to eliminate obstacles. You must identify the critical obstacles and eliminate them. If employees are disengaged or demotivated at work, the chances are that they may not show, they may show poor work ethics. So negativity in the workplace could be in the form of office politics, There may be a very strict, rigid hierarchy. There may be lack of recognition, or it could be in the form of inadequate benefits or lowered employee morale. Remember, the values of ethics or the values and ethics here will only bear fruits when they come to the employees intrinsically. So it has to be dealt very impatiently. You have to identify the factors. You have to walk the talk. You must be respectful to your employees. The internal communication among team members must be strong. They must be very cohesive. And also some of the undefined company cultures and personal issues have to be cleared. So keeping a regular check on these factors is the principal responsibility of any leader or manager. Now, how do you put values into action and action into values? Well, it could be done by creating sparks. Now, if companies' values align with the natural desires and actions of the employees, the values themselves will inspire action. When enough people love what they do, love why they are doing it, and love who they are doing it for, they will make things happen with a passionate force. Now that can be a continuing source for future spark of actions. Now, if the company selects employees who align with its values, it is generally easier for the right spark of activity to occur. That is why you see that there is a paradigmatic shift. There were, in the past, functional specialization was what was important to recruit people. Today, organizations look for people with the right attitude who can align with that of the organization's culture. Secondly, by facilitating openness, you can put values into action and action into values. Now, many organizations are made up of diverse teams in which many opinions arise. Often there could be conflicting. Now, when an organization promotes values such as honesty, openness, transparency, it is potentially easier to diffuse conflicts. The resulting meetings and discussions can be more direct and lead to positive actions. Now, business leaders can benefit by creating a culture that rewards and promotes these values, even amongst differences of opinion. Sometimes differences of opinion is encouraged in order that you become more constructive. So in this way, many potential barriers can be minimized and avoided with ease. Now, as a part of an open environment, it is important for employees to feel understood by the manager. Now, for managers, this means showing empathy to staff. When management truly understands the challenges and desires of the employees within a business, it becomes easier to provide an environment in which productivity can thrive and people can feel self-actualized. Another way is by fostering responsibility. Now, for an organization to operate smoothly, employees should value being accountable for their actions. So accepting responsibility is important and being accountable is even more important. So in some organizations, there is some nameless hidden person or group, who becomes responsible for the actions. And this, what happens is, this will foster a culture with a lack of responsibility. Everybody doesn't become a part of it. There can also be a blaming culture in which the person who is deemed responsible is targeted, even though the individual is actually not responsible. So if in an organization, responsibility is valued, each employee owns all of his or her actions. They take full responsibility and also face the consequences of it. When people take responsibility for their actions, the challenges and issues that arise can be addressed and solutions can be Another approach, another way is to guide a considered approach, meaning that once a specific action has been taken, it is worthwhile both for the management as well as the employees to review and reflect the impact and results in terms of the organization's values. Now, how did the action impact the people involved? How did it impact the organization? How does it affect the bigger picture? So reviews can be formal or informal, and any activity for that matter can be reviewed. Now, when the people within an organization are encouraged to reflect and introspect and revisit and analyze their actions and outcomes, it will foster an environment in which there will be continued growth, and this will happen at all levels simultaneously, and the organization continuously progresses. And see, we've all grown up with the adage saying, be prepared. Now, this holds equally effective from business perspective. More than ever before, business environments are changing so rapidly, and companies are forced to get into positions where management has no choice but to take drastic, radical, dramatic action. Although it is important for employees to have a sense of stability within their business, they should also be ready to change at any moment. Now, how well an organization and its people adapt to change can be a very strong measure for long-term success. Those who can make most of this changing environment are destined to perform well over time. See, mission, vision, all these things are not mere statements composed just for formality. Between every vision and mission statement of a company are goals that are aimed to be achieved. Hence, it should be taken seriously and understood by every employee. Now, when this is combined with the right values and strategies that align with the business objective, it can serve as a guideline for the mindset as well as the behaviors of people to accomplish together. So the values and beliefs of an organization contribute to the brand image of that organization. That becomes known, respected. That's how credibility is built. Now, let me tell you that, you see, business ethics, it happens to be the foundation of any successful business. So any business organization that seeks to serve the society, the various stakeholders, and not only the promoters or owners, will survive as an institution known for business ethics of a tall order. Now, the essential qualities that is needed to nurture any such business organization would be to look at ethics that stands for, for what it is, more important than the business itself. Secondly, by institutionalizing the process that clearly communicates business ethics as the important bedrock of the organization in totality is yet another thing. And making business ethics a way of life in the organization is another important quintessential quality that is required for successful business organizations. So what are the elements of this ethical values? First of all, it should serve the ends of the human well-being. And while promoting the human well-being, it has to be done in an impartial way. The well-being promoted by ethical values is not personal and selfish well-being. It is no one person's well-being is to be counted as more worthy or valuable than any others. So, business organization. Now, I will give you examples of how business organizations have been using these ethical values such as honesty, integrity, responsibility, it could be quality, building trust, respect, teamwork, it could be leadership, innovation, or corporate citizenship. You know how these values are being manifested in their day-to-day operations and how they have been able to build credibility. Now I have done little homework on about some 10 organizations, in terms of their ethics and values and how it has built credibility for their organizations. They are Tata Groups, Wipro, Sundaram Finance. I've looked into Murugappa Group of companies, Cadbury, Nestle, then Steel Authority of India, Maruti Udyog, ONGC, Infosys, Tata Steel. So these are some of the examples I'd like to drive before I, wind up on this session. Now take the Tata Group, for example. Now it's all known to us that some years ago, the Tata Group suffered a setback with one of its five-star property in Mumbai that caught, that was caught in the terrorist attack, and of course, government stepped in, militants were shot dead. However, the damage to the property ran into several thousands of crores. Ratan Tata, the then chairman, did something that is totally out of the world. He, in fact, taught the world some lessons in business ethics. Every single person who was affected, including those like the pav bhaji vendors outside the hotel, were offered compensation running into several lakhs of rupees. The education of children of those affected, free medical facilities for those survivors and dependents at Tata Hospital for the rest of their lives were given. In fact, they formed a trust for the rehabilitation of the families of the victims. Tata himself visited the families of each of the 80 employees who were affected by the bomb blast and were offered compensation running into several lakhs of rupees. So this was the business ethics at its best. The story did not end here. 10,000 rupees per month was also offered as compensation for the policemen who had nothing to do with the blast at the hospital, but were involved elsewhere. So Ratan Tata had clearly spelled what the Tata Group stands for to this day. Their Tata's underpinning values were integrity, understanding, excellence, unity, and responsibility. They have always sought to be a value-driven organization. In fact, Tata Steel was named as one of the 2020's world's most ethical companies by Ethisphere. Let's look at Wipro. Now, the spirit of Wipro is the core of Wipro. The spirit is rooted in current reality, but it also represents what Wipro aspires to be, thus making it future active. The spirit is an indivisible synthesis of manifesting the intensity to win, acting with sensitivity, and showing unyielding integrity at all times in all its operations. Now, the chairman Azim Premji was of the view that, he annoyed several other fellow capitalists when he said that rich people should pay more taxes in response to some budget proposal. Not stopping there, he justified his views in many interviews as well. So Wipro has spent upwards of some 900 crores in Karnataka and in Andhra Pradesh, where it has helped build school infrastructure, improve the standards of education, and so on. Its donation to several hospitals in Tamil Nadu is very much an example of the highest quality of business ethics. And within the organization, ethics is a way of life. And let us look at Sundaram Finance. Now in Chennai, a TVS group company called Sundaram Finance would serve all its senior citizens in 10 minutes flat, no questions asked. Free financial advice is given on tax matters. It has over 2,000 crores in fixed deposit, mostly from senior citizens. And the deposit the interest is not high, it's slightly more than what is offered in banks, still the money comes in. The interest is credited on, 1 day in advance, particularly if it happens to be the first of the month happens to be a holiday. So not a single amount of interest has been unpaid to any customer. So the organization has a huge network of borrowers who also repay the dues on time, as they know the value of TVS, which actually stands for trust, values, and service. Now, the TVS group of company has one thing in common in all their factories. Each employee carries home a small gift in the form of some eatable, like a small biscuit packet, a packet of banana chips or potato or chips or so on. And this is illustrative of the philosophy of the TVS group, care and share. Now, this is also reflected in the fact that they are third generation employees happily working with the same TVS group. And let us look at the Murugappa group of companies. The Murugappa group of companies in Chennai is another outstanding example of business ethics. They never bribe a single official. Everything is done in a very transparent manner. The owners are all well known for their business ethics. Even small amounts are paid only through checks or through bank transfers. So business ethics also means that organizations, employee pay all their taxes in time and in total. In each of these, each of the employees ensure that their income tax is deducted and paid to the government authorities right on time. Looking at Cadbury's. Now, Cadbury believes that good ethics and good business go together naturally to produce the best long-term results for all the stakeholders. Its success is sustained by understanding and responding to the needs of various stakeholders. So its values are based on performance, quality, respect, integrity, responsibility, honesty, openness, courtesy, and the likes. So Cadbury's acts in an ethical way to protect and promote the company's reputation amongst the people and the communities that it does business with. In fact, its Cadbury Cocoa partnership recognizes its environmental responsibilities. It reduces the environmental impact, in particular targeting carbon, packaging, and water use within its broad environmental program, Purple Goes Green. And Nestle, since its founding, Nestle's business practices have been governed by integrity, honesty, fair dealings, full compliance with all applicable laws. So Nestle employees worldwide have upheld and lived this commitment in their everyday responsibilities. Now, looking at other MNCs, Steel Authority of India Limited has a core value which is to be respected world-class, to be a respected world-class corporation and the leader in business steel, in steel business, in quality, productivity, profitability, and customer satisfaction. ONGC's core values are to be a company integrated in energy business with dominant Indian leadership and global presence. Quickly, on to Maruti Udyog's core value. They concentrate on customer obsession, flexibility, and being the first mover. Innovation and creativity are important, networking and partnership, along with openness and learning. These have been the core values of Maruti Udyog. And Infosys Technologies, much to say about them. Infosys Technology is a globally respected corporation that provides best of the breed business solutions, leveraging technology, delivered by best-in-class people, and it achieves its objectives in an environment which is of fairness, honesty, courtesy towards clients, employees, vendors, and the society at large. So Infosys, in fact, has become one of the only 4 honorees in the software and service industry globally, and one of the only 3 honorees in India. Now, their ethical values include customer delight, leadership, integrity and transparency, fairness, and pursuit of excellence. In fact, Infosys was recognized as late as 23rd of February 2021. They were recognized as the global leaders in defining and advancing the standards of ethical business practices, as they were one of the world, they were recognized as the world's most ethical company for 2021 by Ethisphere Institute. So Infosys is distinguished for its undiluted commitment towards integrity and making value-based decisions. Infosys is spotlighted in the areas of ethics and compliance, diversity, governance, and social initiatives. And lastly, Tata Steel Group. Now, it has won a number of awards, being the top global steel company, being the most geographically diversified steel producer with operations and commercial presence across the world. It has been certified as a great place to work. It has retained the global steel industry leadership. It has been recognized as the climate disclosure leader in the steel category. It is a member of the World Steel Climate Action Program and has Green Pro certification for its products. It has won several awards like the Lighthouse Recognition, the Corporate Strategy Awards, the Golden Peacock Award, Best Risk Management Framework and Systems Award, Most Ethical Company Award. They have also achieved Steel Sustainability Champion by this World Steel Association. They have won the Dun and Bradstreet Corporate Awards, Best Companies to Work For. They are also considered to be the Asia's best integrated reports. Now, looking at all this, we can see how ethics and values of an organization impacts its presence, impact its performance. Before I conclude, these were some of the examples of how ethics has lent itself in building credibility for organizations. It should therefore be the endeavor of all organizational leaders, managers, and every organizational member to constantly strive to move from the state of inertia to the state of righteous action, to move from the state of faithlessness to the state of faith and self-confidence, to move from unethical actions to ethical actions, and to move from untruth to truth. So this is how I look at the importance of organizational values and ethics. Now over to you for questions. I hope I have not crossed the time that was given to me.
No, ma'am, not at all. Thank you so much for your elaborate insight into clarifying organizational values. Ma'am spoke about the 4 values that guide all the workplaces and how productivity can thrive if congenial environment is given to all the employees. Ma'am elaborated on how good ethics and good business go hand in hand. And the examples of big business houses like Tata, TVS, Nestle taken by you have been very interesting, ma'am. It has been a very, very interesting talk. So a big thank you from all of us. I'll put the questions to you. There have been some questions in the chat box. But before that, I would also like to personally thank Dr. R.K. Yadav, our speaker, for being with us throughout the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So now, ma'am, there are these 2 questions that were put in the chat box. The first question is that this is a question I feel which concerns all of us. With so much of ad hoc staff in colleges and universities who are normally underpaid, how can we talk about the congenial environment given to them, and how can we accept them to be accountable and responsible?
Well, see, one aspect of this is the economics part of it. In terms of them being remunerated poorly, and therefore, you couldn't expect much out of them. See, when we talk about ethics and values, we are primarily referring to the moral principles, whether you're being paid well or not being paid well, whether people hold you, whether you're designated well or not designated well, should not in any way impact your way of life. See, just because an individual is paid well, that also does not reflect the fact that he would be ethical. Same way, just because an individual is not being fairly remunerated, should not be a cause for an individual not being not being governed by moral values. So these are two different things. Primarily, if an individual is strongly influenced by an emotional state of mind which is governed by morality, these hygiene factors should not impact you in terms of your delivery. That is idealistically speaking. When you talk about this congenial environment, okay, when you're talking about fair scales not being paid, or the environment not being congenial for work, you see, many a times, having been in the higher positions, I have seen now many of these ad hoc faculties that we take, we recruit. If you ask them a question, whether they really are doing their bit of job, whether they are really deserving the kind of expectations they have, the answer is, from my review, I'm saying, is an emphatic no. See, one needs to deserve to ask. This is my principle. Once you deserve, you will find several avenues. Once you become deserving, you will find several avenues that will catch the attention of other employers and recruiters, where you will make a mark. Unfortunately, what has happened is people expect more than what they really deserve, and this is the reason why organizations too are very skeptical while fixing the scales. So in my opinion, being principled is one thing, and the hygiene factors should not rock these basic principles that we need to embrace.
Thank you, ma'am. There's another question also. As you're aware that there is a lot of pressure of getting a good grade in NAC, where feedback forms are an important part of the score that NAC gives us. Do you think it is possible and practical to get an honest feedback in all the institutions?
I am very skeptical about this. I am very much in line with what you're saying, but most institutions, let me tell you, everybody is desirous of getting an A grade or a better grade, because with better grades, their fund, the chances of getting grants and funds is always more. And institutions, I know for good. I have visited more than 20 institutions where I have gone there as chairman of the NAC committee. I know for good that these institutions would have done a lot to prepare the students for this student survey feedback. But let me tell you, students are smart. They know that the purpose of NAC is development. They know it is for purpose of quality improvement. And however much you try and get into this act of, sometimes even brainwashing the students are pretty smart to call a spade a spade. This because it is all confidential, and the organization will not know who really has given what feedback. In total, at the end of it, they may get to know what was the feedback, but they will not be able to identify the individual who has given the feedback. So students are smart, and I wish I made that tribe of students, increase, where they are, fearless, and they call a spade a spade. It is, one way, of course, the institution does make an effort to reflect itself well, but the students, I feel, are smart. But this is not the case with alumni. It is not the case with parents. Somewhere there is also an element of fear, so they may not be able to portray the truth. But then, this being so foolproof in terms of confidentiality, I think the students are smart to give the truth.
Thank you, ma'am. Your answer has been an eye-opener to all the faculties who are here with you today, listening to you, coming straight from the horse's mouth, who has been visiting colleges for the NAC visit. Thank you for your answers. And before we wind up for the day, I would like one of our IQAC members and a member for this workshop also, Dr. Hemant Sharma. I would request him for a formal vote of thanks. Dr. Hemant Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Shami Nagpal. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Hemant Sharma, Assistant Professor in Botany. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the Anand College Hisar and organizing committee of this webinar, extend a vote of thanks to Professor Aisha Mehboob Sharif for being a resource person and sparing his valuable time for this webinar. Today's session was quite insightful and comprehensive. It gave deep insight into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts. It was really informative. I thank you, Professor Aisha Mehboob Sharif, for sharing your thoughts. I am sure that the information that you shared with us today will prove to be valuable and worthy for teachers and students. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. I also convey my sincere thanks to Dr. R.K. Yadav, former Director, Student Welfare, CCSHAU Hisar. I further wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Vikramjit Singh, Principal, Dayanand College Hisar, for providing encouragement, support, and resource to conduct this webinar. I am also thankful to Dr. Shami Nagpal, convener of this webinar, Dr. Vivek Srivastav, IQSC coordinator, Dr. Anup Parmar, and Dr. Sunita Lega, organizing secretaries, and members of organizing committee, Mr. Narendra Kumar, Dr. Aditya Kumar, Dr. Neeru Bala, Mrs. Manju Sharma, Mrs. Shalu Rani, Ms. Vibha Lohan, Mr. Mandeep, Mr. Harish, Mr. Narendra, and Mr. Sunny Kakkad for their support and coordination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hemant Sharma. And before we go offline, I would like to share that this session will be shared on the YouTube. So those of you who missed any part, any bit in this session, can watch it on the YouTube. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am, once again. Thank you, Dr. Yadav, once again. Thank you, everybody.